Ibrahim is my guest here this afternoon or this morning or whichever time it is, wherever it is you are. This is Keynote Radio and this is the Chief Charles Show. Today we're talking movies, we're talking about cinema, we're talking storytelling. And of course, it began with the story of football, dovetail to Jollof. And now we're going to be talking about movie. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome formally to Keynote Radio and to the Chief Charles Show, Dapo Ibrahim. Dapo Ibrahim is a young Nigerian. He's an author, a poet, he's an entrepreneur, a student, he's a hustler, but he's bustling in his field. But he has a unique way of reaching the world, which is cinema and storytelling. His latest project is what we are about to discuss here in the Request studio on the Chief Charles Show. I'm fascinated by that project because last year, 2020, was a very difficult year for everybody. Of course, this was a COVID year and nearly everything was under lockdown. Nothing moved, nothing, nothing moved. Nobody went, nobody came. Everybody was basically locked down and we're praying. So many people lost their lives, and may those who lost their lives to COVID rest in perfect peace. But in the midst of the chaos, people were still working, and one of such is Dapo Ibrahim, my guest I'm about to speak with. It has a short film, The Call, which we're about to talk about. But before we'll talk about the movie, there's a matter on my heart that I'd like to ask before we delve into the reason for the movie, the motivation for the movie, and the premieres itself. Dapo, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here, my brother. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure communicating with you. It's always a pleasure.
So I think sometime latter part of last year, there was the issue of SARS in Nigeria. One that the world watched with bewilderment as the Nigerian security forces clamped down on the youth. We saw the images which were very gory and graphic. People being beaten and the youth, taking arms against the military, against the police. It was a very bad image of Nigeria. Obviously, you weren't back home, you were here, but I'm sure being a Nigerian, you were very concerned about what was happening. We want to believe that SARS has ended. At least the action has ended. But I just need you to delve a little bit into what may have inspired the Nigerian security and a clash with the Nigerian youth.
Yeah, it's been a very the whole SARS thing wasn't something that happened in a year or 2 years. It's been going on since the initiation of the starting up of the SARS unit of the Nigerian police force. That was in the early 1990s. And the SARS unit, it was supposed to combat criminals. And they are supposed to combat like hardened criminals that, they are trying to do, bad things in the country. But along the line, they switched. It became that, the people that they're supposed to protect the citizens became those who are actually tormenting the citizens. And I personally, I've had personal encounters with Nigerian police force, on the road. Sometimes they mount roadblocks, and sometimes those roadblocks are actually illegal, and they do it just to get money from people. And one of their defense or one of their argument for doing that is because they are massively underpaid and they are risking their life for the citizen, so they are kind of entitled to accepting money on roadblock from citizens. So but the thing is, when they do is they show you that they are the power, because they have guns and this, so they expect you to do exactly what they want you to do. So it's just like it's like a power trip. It's like them trying to exert their power on you. You're in the middle of the road, maybe in the middle of the night, out of nowhere, you're surrounded by like maybe 6 to 10 police officers with guns, and you don't have anything, and you don't have any way to defend yourself. So at that moment, you're basically at their mercy.
Mm.
And that started from, from one person to two person to like 50 people to 100 people, and then became like a national issue. Um, Sometimes the best is to just to just be calm. When it's just the way, when the police stops you here in America, you don't want to argue with them, because either way, to me, the guy that has the gun has an advantage, and I'm not here to
Absolutely.
argue with the guy that has a gun.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, they took it to a different form, whereby if they see a younger Nigerian youth, a younger
Who
Nigerian
seem to be
person
doing well, or who
doing
looks
well,
bourgeois.
yeah, and because there's so many youths like that in Nigeria,
Yeah.
whereby maybe they're from rich families, and their
Mm.
parents give them like a car or something, they will be like, oh, you are doing this thing called Yahoo Yahoo.
Mhm.
Yahoo Yahoo is like internet scam.
Yeah.
So the internet, and there are people doing that too
Yeah.
in Nigeria.
Of course.
The internet scammers,
Mm.
they do it to they and when they do it, they spend lavishly, they flaunt their wealth, and they're very young, and
Like Hush Puppy.
like Hush Puppy, yeah,
Mm.
something like that. So there's these people that they are older, and they are walking on the road, and they're like, oh no, these guys are young, they are scamming people. Some people it might be that they've been scammed, and they're like taking like a personal, it's like personal to them, it's like a personal vendetta, whatever. Because Nigeria, there was even a point in time in Nigeria where there was so many scams going on, not just internet scam, like pyramid scheme.
So
And
so
things like
actually, so it's the reason why I asked that question, because
Mhm.
then I did understand that the whole SARS thing began with clamp down on Yahoo Boys, or if you like 419 as
Yeah.
Nigeria has
Mhm.
it. And I intentionally asked that question because it's going to direct us to the story we're about to tell.
Mhm.
Nigeria ignominiously or ashamedly some time ago, if you mentioned Nigeria, the image or the picture that comes to mind is that of 419.
Mhm.
That they are a nation of scammers, they are a nation of young people who are on the internet, and all they are trying to do is to reach someone and scam them. That was at least the image that Nigeria had. But I believe that for some time now, Nigeria has managed to turn that image upside down or down on its head. And I believe Nigeria, if you speak with people these days, Nigeria is not only remembered or noted for 419. Nigeria nowadays is noted for their strong Afrobeat representation on the world stage. People like Burna Boy, Davido, and the rest have changed the narrative from 419 to a nation that is really very strong in terms of entertainment and the creative arts, of which you belong. And so I guess one of the things too Nigeria has done so well is through Nollywood, by churning out so many movies. I understand that Nollywood is about the third biggest movie industry in the world
After Bollywood.
after Bollywood.
Mhm.
So I think that moving from SARS and 419, Nigeria has managed to build a very strong and beautiful image, if you like, repaired its image on the world stage through movies and the creative arts. And you belong to the creative arts, a young movie producer. I believe you are one of the generation that is changing the image of Nigeria from what we thought was, bad, was shameful, to that is, putting the light and shining a positive light on Nigeria.